Very, very special guest with me today. None other than Julius Winfield Erving, better known as Dr. J. Dr. J, internationally recognized, was the dominant basketball player of his era and a true innovator who revolutionized the way the game was played. Widely heralded as one of the all-time greats, he is often considered to have been the catalyst for the ABA-NBA merger in 1976. Irving's strong leadership skills led his teams to championships in both leagues, while his authentically thrilling, high-flying style on the court captivated millions of fans from all over the world along the way. He was the epitome of class and humility, and no one was more respected both on and off the court. Erving played professionally for 16 years, having scored 30,026 points in his combined ABA and NBA career, and left as the third highest scorer in professional basketball at the time, behind only Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Wilt Chamberlain. Erving scored more than 22 points per game in his 11 NBA seasons with Philadelphia and 28.7 points per game in his 5 ABA seasons with Virginia and New York. In 1993, Erving was elected to the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame and was also named to the NBA's 50th anniversary all-time team. In 1994, Erving was named by Sports Illustrated as one of the 40 most important athletes of all time. In 2017, GQ magazine selected him as part of the 50 greatest living athletes, a true testament to his staying power of remaining generationally relevant some 30 years after his playing career ended. Erving holds a degree in business management from the University of Massachusetts, as well as honorary degrees from Temple University and Philadelphia University. He is the founder of Erving Global Opportunity LLC, and he brings to the table close to 40 years of experience as a Hall of Fame player, executive, and entrepreneur. He has also served on various boards of directors. Please help me welcome Dr. J. Julius Erving.
Thank you so much. That is a rousing introduction. If I was going to correct one thing, I think when they mentioned GQ, I thought you were going to mention something about fashion, but that didn't happen. So we just have to work that in next time.
Oh, so why don't you tell me a little bit about it?
About fashion?
Yeah.
Well, I tried to be a pace setter. In the 70s, it was bell bottoms, high platform shoes, high hair, the whole 9 yards. And then it shifted very quickly into the 80s and 90s to something a little more conservative looking, but colorful nonetheless. And here we are in the 2000s and 2020s or whatever. So, what am I representing? Win of Las Vegas?
I got to tell you, I remember when you hit the scene. I was young. I'm a little younger than you are. But I was about 15 years old when you came on the scene. And I just remember, watching you in such awe that it was incredible. I had Sports Illustrated, and all the pictures, the whole spread that they did on you with the big afro. You had the big afro at the time.
Yeah.
My favorite, there are a couple of favorites that I have, but one of my all-time favorites was watching you slam dunk over Jabbar. That to me was just so amazing. I'm like, whoa, this guy can do anything. All right. So as far as I'm concerned, you are, if not the best, you are certainly in the top 3 to 5 of all time. I mean, you are my hero.
Yeah. I think when they combined both leagues, the things that were done should add up to, having a very elevated status in terms of all-time best. And it's been an uphill battle just in terms of getting the ABA the recognition that it deserves. But I think this commissioner is on to it, and probably on his watch, he'll be able to do some things that David Stern just wasn't able to do. Not that he didn't want to do them, because we had multiple conversations over the years, about the recognition of the ABA and the merging of the statistics and, stuff like that. So I think Adam Silver gets it and wants something significant to be done on his watch. Even with the players who haven't done well, who were former ABA players, and some of them are destitute.
Ooh.
Some of them are dying broke, can't afford funerals or whatever, and the pension situation has never been resolved. So
Mm.
those guys, some guys put in 9 years or whatever, and that would make a difference just in terms of they're moving on to the next stage of their existence, and also in terms of their family benefiting. So there's a lot of dialogue going on about that, and that's one of the things that preys on my mind sometimes when I go to sleep. Will there ever be justice for all, particularly the ones who are our fallen brothers?
Wow. Wow. And probably most people don't even know this. All right. So I'm
Yeah.
I'm very, I'm glad you brought that up also. And I think we'll go into that in a little bit later in the show.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
I want to start with I mean, I can't believe next month it's going to be 13 years since the mission that we went on together to Israel, to the Holy
Mm-hmm.
Land. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
I know that for me and my
Of
son,
course I do. Of
I know
course I
that
do.
I know that for me and my son Avrami, it was a great experience meeting you and the Barrys.
Uh-huh.
It was also a very moving experience, especially meeting Rabbi Grossman at Migdal Or and seeing all the
Mm-hmm.
wonderful work that he's doing, housing
Yes.
6,000 kids who are orphaned or
Yeah.
coming from broken homes and literally building a city. Today Avrami's married, studying to be an actuary.
Really?
And yeah, and
Nice.
uh,
Nice.
and at the same time studying to be a rabbi. I don't know which
Yeah.
direction he's going to go, but whatever he does, I wish him well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
Me too.
I just want to start there. My first question to you is really, what kind of an impact did that trip to Israel have on Dr. J?
Well, it wasn't my first trip there. And hopefully it won't be the last. It's the last right now, but hopefully there'll be another trip worked in somewhere along the lines. And just been able to go to the Holocaust Museum to pray once again at the Wailing Wall, and to go into the Church of the Nativity, and the tourist destinations, which are more than tourist destinations because they're part of spiritual history for all the religious sects, and we found, and we exploited, and enjoyed the fact that when we went in some places, there was representation for many of the different religious sects, and that was important. I think from a family perspective, for us to meet the political leaders of the day, and be involved in conversations about the issues of the day. That was meaningful, and I think we were ambassadors for the U.S., and at least the boys were. The girls probably just got a little shopping in and enjoyed the scenery. But Rick and I think have taken very seriously that time when we were there, and not taking it for granted, and come home with a lot of conversations with our friends and our relatives, and made it a sharing experience, and encouraged them to go and see what all of us was about, because we did enjoy ourselves, and we learned so much, and we were so influenced by the rabbi, and the other rabbis that we met, and the fact that they welcomed us with open arms and talked very candidly, and just kind of let us know what was going on and what time it was.
Yeah, I'll tell you, one of the things that humbled me personally, and I still have that image in my mind. All right, was
Mhm.
watching you at the Wailing Wall, and when you knelt down at the Wailing Wall,
Mhm.
I mean, it sent shivers down my spine.
Mhm.
I look at you, the world looks at you. You're this iconic individual. All right. And then you get to the Wailing Wall, you humble yourself by kneeling at the wall. I mean, it was so amazing. It's a picture that, like I said, in my mind, that I will never ever forget. I mean, it
Mhm.
was amazing. Um,
Mhm.
and we did have a good time. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah, we did.
Let's be real.
We
My
did.
son Avrami, he was so funny. All he wanted to do was get your autograph. And I kept telling him, I said to him, Avrami, just wait. It was like the first day, day one, you know? And I said, Avrami, just wait, just wait. And then at the
Yeah.
end of the trip, you gave him a basketball and you signed, we have it here. Okay. It's going
Okay.
to be behind me. And I never forget the inscription. It's basically from Dr. J, and it's um, to Avrami, great hanging with you and your dad. Thanks so
Yeah.
much, Dr.
Yeah.
J. You know, so
Yeah.
that meant so much to him as
Yeah.
well. So it was, you know, twofold. It was meeting Rabbi Grossman, which was very, very, very exciting and very, I mean, it's humbling to see what this
Yeah.
man has
Yeah.
done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, so that was, so
Well,
I'm glad.
you see the residents for the people that are being housed, and I mean, as far as living conditions go, it's not like Four Seasons Hotel or anything like that or whatever. I mean, it's plain and simple and it's functional, and for them uh, to live there and know that they're being taken care of, and for them to focus on what's next for them, where they're going to go in life, because many of the young people go into the military by requirement
Right.
to do 2 years, I believe, or go to the farms and go to the kibbutz and so on and so forth. So learning about that in terms of the culture or whatever, I think that was important. And that's important to bring back home and talk to our kids about, and then for your son to experience it firsthand and know that could be him.
Right, right. I mean, the one thing that I really was impressed with my son is that was his bar mitzvah trip.
Okay.
And he made a decision because he'd been talking about this bar mitzvah party. You know about the bar mitzvah parties, right? Everybody's these
Sure.
bar mitzvah parties.
Been invited to a few.
And that's all he talked about the entire time he was 12 years old. That's all he talked about. Him and his friends. Oh, the bar mitzvah party. And when somebody approached me about this mission, and then I about going on this meeting, and I approached him and I said, look, to me, it's going to cost the same amount of money. So it doesn't really matter to me. All right. But what would you want to do? Do you want to have this party? Do you want to go on this mission to Israel? And he said, Dad, give me a week to think about it. And he came back and he said, no, I want to do the mission. And I
Mhm.
was so blown away because it
Mhm.
was so meaningful. It's something that he'll carry with him the rest of his life. The parties, they
Yeah.
come, they go, but this was
Yeah.
and I was so proud of him that he did that.
Yeah.
So that
He
was
was able
great.
to make some new friends too,
Yeah,
instead of just hanging out with the old friends.
absolutely.
You can hang out with them anytime, but make new friends like me and Rick and the girls and the other people who we met along the way. I mean, we did meet some very interesting people.
Yep.
And I think I was able to tell you about, my journey with Moshe Feldenkrais. And he trained me for several years at a very pivotal time in my career. And he lived in Israel up until the time that he died. And he was an amazing guy who, they have books about him, and he was involved with colleges here in the United States, just in terms of teaching the Feldenkrais method, and which is a way of making your being better. You become a better being by utilizing the things that he espouses on and whatever. So he was a giant among giants. And for me, I mean, and he only came up to my chest. The first time I met him, it was like in Springfield, Massachusetts, and he says, you're a big guy, but I could break you in half if I wanted to, because he was like a judo expert.
Uh-huh.
He said, but I heal people, now. So
Wow.
that was one of my trips to Israel, was to spend time with him, and of course, it's many, many stories about, just many people who are helpful. And I know that your platform is about, making life better for others who are less fortunate. So,
That's correct. That's
so I
absolutely correct.
appreciate that. I appreciate that, and I admire that.
All right. So let's the name of the podcast is Whispers and Bricks, and the whispers are those
Yeah.
voices telling you like the right thing to do, and it represents the good things in life. The bricks represent the bad things that we go through in life, and there are many ups and downs and many bumps in the road. Now,
Mhm.
from reading your bio, you seem to have had a incredible life, a great career. But like I said, every so often we get hit with a brick. Now, my biggest brick was 9/11 and the whispers that helped me to get out and my miraculous escape. What my listeners want to know is what were some of the struggles or failures, if there were any, of some of the bricks that you got hit with, either personally or professionally, when you were either starting out in your career or throughout your career? I think you're
All right.
muted.
No, I heard you. I
Oh,
heard you. I was talking to my daughter.
oh, I'm sorry.
So for me, all right, I'll see you later. So for me, I think at an early age, there was some physical injury that happened. I ended up severing the ligament in my right knee in a fall while I was playing sandlot football, and I fell and I slid through some glass,
Oh,
and it just kind of cut my knee up. And I went home, and my mom takes alcohol and puts it on, and of course that didn't feel too good
yeah.
because the flesh was showing. So then she took me to the doctor because she worked at a doctor's office. Took me to the doctor. We go to the doctor, and he said, "You got to take him to the hospital." So we went to the hospital, and then they performed a surgery on my leg. And so I was probably maybe like 11 or 12. And, so I had a cast on my leg, and, it took a lot of time for it to heal, several months for it to heal. And then once it was healed, like any time you get a cast anywhere on your body, there's atrophy and the whole
Mhm.
deal. So you looked at my leg and it looked like an arm. It looked like I had three arms and one leg or whatever. So I got all kinds of nicknames during that time, hop along and peg leg and,
Oh God.
whatever. The kids were kind of hard on me. And I went from being the fastest kid on the block to the slowest. And, I felt like at that stage in my life, it was such a challenge to get back what I had lost. And, I went at it in an interesting way because I just kind of used the things that were available to me, the steps on my apartment house, the benches that were in the common areas, in the playground. There were swings and seesaws and all that kind of stuff. And I just remember going out and conditioning myself and training with those things, not knowing what my future was. I mean, I just knew that athletics were going to be in my future because I was basically in elementary school and then middle school. But all of those things became like gifts to me that I realized later doing those things, jumping over the benches and seesawing and flying out of the swings and, all of that stuff. There was a brick definitely laid on me with the fall.
Right.
But then in terms of the whispers or the miracle associated with being coming back and becoming, a world-class athlete down the road, who knew? And who knew? And developing late as opposed to developing early was very important too, because, I mean, not a lot of people saw it coming. So at age 16, 17, and 18, I wasn't better than everybody, but I worked probably harder than everybody. And it was always a state of catch up. And I think maybe I caught up when I was about 20.
Wow. Wow. That's
so,
late.
so when I was 20, I caught up and I had a lot of things going for me at that time because I was a student athlete. And even my freshman year in college, I wasn't the leading scorer on the team. The guy who came from Long Island, like me, his name was Rick Bogley. He was the leading scorer on the team. I was the second leading scorer. And we had an undefeated season. So then the next year when I came back, and pretty much after that, all the way until my 15th year as a pro, I was always the leading scorer on the team. So it happened. It happened at age 20 when I got invited to be an Olympian and go into the Olympic development program as an alternate, but went and excelled in the training camp situation, went to Europe, Russia, Poland, and Finland, and played and led the team in scoring and rebounding. So I was a late bloomer, and that was good. So that brick early in my life, as well as the passing of my little brother when he was 16 and I was 19. That was a brick. That was a brick. I thought I would never cry again, and I said I wasn't going to cry again. And then a couple years later, my favorite uncle died, and I found myself in the church, reaching for napkins and tissues, because the tears just became real. And crying is a real part of life. It's just something that you need to do to cleanse yourself and purify yourself, just in terms of times of misery or trial or tribulation. And sometimes the tears are a good thing to shed. Sometimes there's good tears.
I agree with you 100% on this point. I personally, I'm a very emotional type of individual, and I'll cry at the drop of a hat. I just will. It's just.
Yeah.
But you know what? I look at that as a blessing. All right, because when I see somebody who's in pain, all right, I can so empathize with them, and I can literally sit down and cry with them because I'm just that type of personality that. That's just I get overwhelmed, and I try and help in any way I can, so I view that as a blessing of and I'll tell it, like a grown man that is able to cry, all right, is a blessing. It's a true blessing, all right, because not everything is going to go our way, and you have to thank God for what you have or what you had. I mean, again, your brother, passing away at the age of 16, terrible, terrible tragedy, but you had him for 16 years.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You had him for 16 years.
There's something to think about in terms of the worthiness of it all. And with people going through trial and tribulation, you have to recognize what their worth is. When I hear of a tragedy, plane crashing, let's say, a volcano exploding, a tsunami, or whatever, all those people, they have a worth, and they have a value. And the fact that people get lost makes me sad, and sometimes to the point of crying. Sometimes just watching a movie.
Yeah.
My eyes are well up, and I just need to pat them down.
I'm okay. I'm not crying. I'm not crying. I'm okay.
Really yeah. My eyes are watering. Yeah. So it's healthy, and we were both on the same page there, which is good.
Let me ask you this. Who could you point to as the person who had like the absolute most influence in your life, and why?
Well, my mom would be first and foremost. She and my dad separated after my brother was born. So I was 3, my sister was 6, my brother was just born. They separated, eventually divorced. So she had to go the distance, herself until she ended up remarrying probably when I was 13 or 14. And she married a much older gentleman who was my stepfather. But she was all in everything. And I think the thing that kept me out of trouble was not that I didn't have friends who got into trouble and did some crazy things or whatever, but I didn't want to make life harder for her than it already was. She grew up in South Carolina. She got a teaching degree and was able to teach down there. When she came to New York, they wouldn't let her teach. So she did domestic work. And she did domestic work. She cleaned the doctor's office, that aforementioned doctor used to clean his office. And then she went and got a license to be a beautician and got a booth in a shop, and had her own booth, had her own customers or whatever. And at the same time, she was raising 3 children. So So I had never wanted to do anything to make her life more difficult, and wanted to do things to make her proud of me. And, I was able to do that by the grace of God. And, it wasn't an exact plan because I didn't plan to go down when I went down, but coming up was through God's will and blessing. And, the story, here we are at age 71, looking at the best day of my life to be in front of me because I just choose to do that. But I have had some tremendous days behind me, and I don't take any of those for granted. But I
Wow.
still say tomorrow's going to be the best day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know what they say? Every day above ground's a good day.
There you go. Straight up.
Right. Yeah. So your mom, she must have been really something special, just
Yeah.
from your, what you're telling me. I mean,
Yeah.
that's truly amazing. And you know what? The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. I mean,
Mhm.
you're an amazing individual. Um, Let me ask you this. Is there
Outside of the
any,
family, is there outside of the family question who was the best influence?
not necessarily, but sure, I'll
Okay.
take it.
Yeah. You'll
Who
take
was
it.
it?
Okay. So outside of the family, my high school coach, Ray Wilson, um, Bill Russell,
Oh,
in terms of iconic figures, when he came to UMass and asked me to go to dinner with him after he had given an address that I couldn't attend because I had practice. And then he sat with me for 3 hours and
wow.
and shared his story. Hold and accept, end and accept, Klein. Okay. We're back. Okay. Somebody tried to call and get on your time. So anyway, yeah, William Ferdinand Russell, amazing guy. I mean, I love him like he's an uncle or brother, and he has returned the love. He extended the hand of friendship to me when I was 19 years old, and
Wow.
it's no coincidence that that next year became my coming out year or whatever because of the confidence that was instilled in me, by him just paying attention as he did, and we've continued to maintain a relationship since, what is that, 1969? Yeah, so that's 30. It's almost 50 years. It's plus
Wow.
50 years plus,
Yeah.
whatever. And you know who he is and what he did and what he stands for and what he stood for. So that's been
Sure.
a light in my life.
Wow. So before we go, let me ask you this. Do you have any words of wisdom or anything you want to share with my audience? Something they can walk away with and, say,
Yeah,
wow.
of course. You know, um, you make your own luck, but in order to make your own luck, you have to have a recipe. I'm making this up as I go along right now. Okay.
That's
So,
fine.
so the recipe for me, I think, is getting an education
Hmm.
and daring to be great. When others say you can't, you dare to be great. And you have the attitude that will give you the altitude in life and get you to higher places and, have a more profound effect on those around you. So you kind of mix that up. That's your recipe right there. And, just kind of move without fear, be respectful of things and be respectful of the dangers of society and life because there are real dangers out there. And, whether it's Satan or others, there's some bad people out there. There's some bad things that can happen. So protect yourself and protect your loved ones. It'd be good to have a protector, somebody who's got your back as you step and you walk through your journey in life, but walk through with a positive attitude, and I think things will turn out pretty good for you.
Wow. That's great. Julius, that is really, really great. Now, if anybody wants to get a hold of you for, they want to hire you as a speaker, or, you do a lot of charity work, what would be the best way to get in touch with you? Is a website or an email or?
Yeah, we have a website, and we have a website in development. We took down Dr. J Enterprises
Mm-hmm.
and we put up Irving Global Opportunity LLC, EGO LLC, or whatever. But I'll send that to you and make sure that you have it on file. Because yeah, we do get emails there right now, and we haven't developed the full website. But I, people can usually find me. I'm a public figure.
Yes, you are.
And that's not the hardest thing to do, finding Julius Erving.
That's for sure. That's for sure. I did have one more thing I wanted to ask you. Yeah. So is there any way, if people want to help you, to, help those that are less fortunate, those ABA players that, who are less fortunate, how would somebody go about to, getting involved or, helping with that? What can we do? What can my audience do?
So right now there's a group of ABA people, and it's headed up by an attorney named Scott Tarter, and it's called Dropping Dimes Foundation. Dropping dimes. And in basketball, when you drop a dime, that's giving somebody an assist.
Right.
That's what they call. So it's the Dropping Dimes Foundation. Scott Tarter, Bob Nederlicki. I'm on the advisory board. Rick Barry's on the advisory board. Bob Costas is on the advisory board. And there's an effort through the Dropping Dimes Foundation to help these guys.
Oh, great.
So that would be great to reach out to them.
Reach out to them, donate over there and the like.
Yeah. They're based in Indianapolis.
That's great. Julius, thanks so much for sharing your story with my audience. It was truly an eye opener. I wish you all the luck in the world going forward. What can I say? It's you're an iconic figure, but you're so humble. All right. And that's what draws me to you in the first place, that you're just an amazing individual. And I really, really want to thank you, and really lots of luck.
Yeah.
And to my audience, you've been listening to Whispers and Bricks, and I'm your host, Ari Schonbrun. Until next time, listen to the whispers, avoid the bricks, and never give up on your dreams. Bye for now.
All right.
Julius.
Thank you. Thank you is enough.
Thank you so much. Really, it means a lot. It means a lot to people, to have a figure like you that giving them advice, it's great. Listen, I hope our paths will cross again. I'm sure they will. Okay. Thanks for doing this. Okay.
Make that happen.
And yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Take care. Right. Best to your daughter.
Right. Shalom.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.